ESPN. The Vikings now playing in that game instead of the Lions after that game on Sunday Night Football last night, in which the Vikings did not put together their best performance of the year. I mean, we'll say that.
To say the least. Justin Jefferson not playing well either. That's how you know.
Darnold played one of the worst games of the year for him.
Yep.
That's an impossible game to win. Now, for everybody that is thinking second doubts, worried about Darnold, let's calm down. Let's think about the parameters of that situation. That is a Detroit Lions team that is playing at home, looking for the first overall seed or first seed in their conference in franchise history. They are as hot as any team in the NFL. They have a virtually unstoppable offense. And you played pretty well for most of the game, especially defensively. That's an impossible game to win. Now, Darnold missed a couple spots here and there. A couple opportunities here and there. Maybe it's a closer game. But the Vikings are not better than the Lions. I think that is apparent. Yeah, that was my takeaway coming out of that.
It seems to me the Lions are a team of destiny out of that NFC, too. I think it's a collision course between them and the Eagles. We'll see if the Eagles have the moxie and the willpower in the playoffs. I think I told you this last week. I'm a firm believer in going to the playoffs and losing, licking your wounds, and coming back better the year after. When you're a team like the Detroit Lions, who has really never had playoff success, let's call it in franchise history. But even some of these teams that go 10 years, a couple of years without winning a playoff game, you got to go, lose first, come back, lick your wounds, and be better. I think the Lions are a team of destiny right now. I think that bye week helps. I think
they need that in the worst way.
I think it's going to get them as healthy as they could possibly be for that perennial playoff push. I will say this, and feel free to jump all over me on this one. I think what I've been saying about Goff, me not trusting him in certain spots, I don't think Goff was at his best last night. No. And the team was good enough to rally around Goff when he wasn't at his best. I said I don't think Jared Goff can win a Super Bowl. It sounds so foolish because he played bad yesterday, and they were able to rally and win 31-9 against an opponent that was 14-2 going into that game. Colin, I am completely sold on Alliance. I am completely sold on Dan Quinn. The two things, obviously, Quinn getting in his own way, and is the team going to be able to rally around Goff if he has a stinker like that in the playoffs? Campbell. I keep saying Dan Quinn. I keep saying Dan Quinn. All right, yeah, Campbell.
One thing that was very apparent to me as well, during that game, there were 3 head coaches on one sideline, and there's 1.5 on the other sideline.
Flores and O'Connell.
So you got Brian Flores, who's going to get interviews, might not get a job, and Kevin O'Connell. And then you got Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson as the defensive and offensive coordinator of the Lions, who are absolutely going to get jobs. And Kevin O'Connell's a good coach, probably the coach of the year. They got outcoached. It's a better coach team. It was a perfect game plan from the Lions. Make Darnold uncomfortable. Blitz him to kingdom come. Make him beat you with his arm under duress. And he wasn't able to do that. He was a little frazzled.
And the Lions secondary, that's what they bolstered in the offseason. Man, did they play well last night.
And they were beaten up to no end. Lost Terry and Arnold last night. All you had to do, if you were the Lions, was their game plan, make Darnold uncomfortable. Stop the run and make him uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Make him beat you. And it's weird to say for somebody that I think should get a contract extension with the Vikings. But that was their game plan. Make him beat you, and he was a little frazzled. It was not his day. You want to take Darnold and jump off a bridge with it, and then you're off that train now. Fine. But the truth be told, Darnold put together a 14-win season. Ask Vikings fans what they thought the season was going to turn out at if you asked them in September. What would they say then?
6 wins,
right.
7 wins.
So take your win. It's bad news that you got the 5th seed. Big deal. Playing on Monday Night Football against a team that has already beaten you. It's hard to beat a team twice. Take your rest and attack them on Monday Night Football because, let's call it like we see it. Like you said, there's a team of destiny that you were playing in your division. Sort of hard to compete with that, and that was apparent. And
definitely, the reason I say team of destiny, look at all the injuries. I mean, they were depleted on the defensive end.
That's part of the reason. Both those coordinators are going to get big-time jobs.
Exactly, and it's just a well-run machine right now. I really don't see them losing in the NFC. I don't. I know it's very early to have these takes. We'll obviously do our playoff coverage throughout, but I really do not see the Lions stumbling at home at that field in front of those fans right now.
Going to be an impossible place to win at. And if you're looking at Philadelphia, that's probably your only chance because Philadelphia is the most well-rounded team probably in the postseason, really. But that's not an easy game to win in that building. Yep. Indoor building, let the crowd roar come down on you. That's not an easy spot. And it wasn't an easy spot for Minnesota last night, and it's not going to be an easy spot for anybody who has a healthier Lions come postseason. So that's my takeaway there. In terms of teams in this postseason, on the other side of things, in terms of matchups, the Broncos have no easy feat in going to Buffalo and playing them in the first week after having to play very hard, playing well against the Kansas City Chiefs backups. That's not going to be an easy game. And you know who I think can win? The Chargers over the Texans. Texans played a decent game against the Tennessee Titans, didn't play all their starters the whole game. Chargers are trending upward. And the Chiefs don't want to see, in my opinion, they're not going to want to see the Chargers coming out of that second round of that postseason.
I don't think so. Intra-division opponent, that's a real tough game.
Seen them already twice. Probably should have lost them the second time around. Mm-hmm. That is not an easy spot. I think the Chargers are going to go out there and they're going to play well. They got a winning head coach. They got a lot of magic to them. Watch that be a really tough game for Houston to win.
Let me add another layer to your Charger take. I think they have a quarterback who's hungry. I think they have a quarterback who is tired of hearing everyone say he doesn't win come playoff time, social media quarterback, whatever you want to say. I think he's ready for the moment, and I think I'm with you. I think the Chargers are probably going to win that game. How many times? So we do a thing here, Punchline Picks, where we make picks against the spread in the NFL and college football. We compete against, theoretically speaking, our show with our great Theo Dorsey 2-4, loser to stand up. With that said, how many times did we take the Texans this year and have them, and I know they were our lock this Sunday, fair play to them, but too many times we took the Texans in games like, why is this line like this? I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. I'm a big C.J. Stroud fan. It hasn't been his year. I think both him and DeMeco Ryans are kind of having sophomore year slumps, and fair play to them, they were able to go 10-7 on a first place schedule.
They need a bit of a reset. They need an offseason reset.
They do, and which is crazy because they spent a lot of money. Let's not forget they got Daniel Hunter, they got Stephon Diggs, they got Joe Mixon. This is a team that went for broke this year, so I'll listen to the whole reset thing, but they really went for it. But I am a big fan of that Chargers as well, winning that game. Colin, I got a couple of teams I'm worried about that I want to throw your way. The Steelers, the Packers, and I think, like you said, the Broncos, obviously going to at Buffalo. But the Steelers and Packers, if I had to pick two teams from each division, or each conference, the Steelers and the Packers. The Steelers, they had the Division 1, what seemed like 4 weeks ago. They stubbed their foot at the end of the year. Their offense is terrible. Russell Wilson got the Scooby-Doo mask pulled off him at the end of the year. And the Packers, I mentioned to you in the pre-show meeting, Jordan Love was playing hotter than a stove going into the playoffs last year. The Packers had to win a bunch of games in a row to even make the playoffs last year. We're playing great football. That is not the case this year. And if they can't run the ball, Colin, look out.
Packers were one blocked field goal away in Chicago late November weekend from going 0-6 in the division. And I understand they didn't need that game yesterday, so take it for what it is. But they were one blocked field goal away, miraculous blocked field goal, from going 0-6 in the division. Packers, for my money, if you stop that run game, that team looks very, very human. I'm not sold on the Packers at all, and I'm not sold on Love either, because Love is very reliant on that running game clicking. He is let the defense focus in on the run, and I will be that complementary side of things. And he plays in a very QB-friendly system. And he is erratic, and he does not, at least this year, has not shown an ability to methodically move the ball downfield consistently.
Agreed.
That's the problem with them.